Okay, so I'm just going to needle felt a little moth to go in the corner of my picture over there. So first off, we're going to start with the body. So using my single needle, I've taken some red roving, and I'm just going to felt that together to make it a little bit more compact. Then we're going to add some light grey over the top. This is in order to sort of create like a varied looking moth. I don't want to have one solid colour in my moth body. So we're just going to felt that together, make a nice compact sausage shape. I am filming this in, I've edited this to be double speed because as lovely and fun as needle felting is, it's not great fun to watch. It can be a bit dull. So yes, just to bear in mind that if my hand movements look a bit funny, it's because everything's in double speed. So I'm giving my moth an orange head, just to add a bit of variety to the body and to incorporate the same colours as I've used in the artwork. So next up we're doing the wings. So for this, I know it sounds silly and sort of a basic thing to say, but I quite often forget to do this myself. When you're making two things of equal size, make sure you get the two clumps of wool or your roving together at the same time before you start felting either of them. It just helps so much to get the things the same size, as opposed to felting one and then trying to felt the other one to being the same size. And again, I know this is obvious, but it needs to be said. Please be very careful when you're holding the wings and felting into the edges of the wings. Felting needles are barbed, and it's just like an old-fashioned fishing hook. They go in easily, but they're quite difficult to remove, and they're extremely sharp. So please be very, very careful when you're doing this. Okay, moving on to the spots for the wings. Again, make your your two lumps of roving before you start your felting. I would suggest, like I've done here, you felt the spots separately from the wings and then attach them to felt them onto the wings once you've finished all the felting part. Because obviously when you're felting, you're making things more and more compact. So you can end up distorting the wing shape if you just try and felt the spots directly onto the ready felted wings. Okay, so all the felting components are made. We can now move on to the finishing details, the hand embroidery part. These are really simple stitches to do. I'm using a double strand of hand embroidery thread. If you're using crochet thread or some other type of thread, obviously you can use a single strand, it's up to you. And don't forget to tie a little knot in the end of your thread. Right, so I accidentally filmed the part where I did the stripes of the body off camera, so I'm just going to repeat that. So pretend this is our red and grey and orange moth body. This will be the underneath of the moth, the part that will be attached to the fabric when we're done. And I've just tied a little bit of, just a knot in this little bit of embroidery thread that I've got here. So underneath, you're just going to do your, like that. Right, and then, so, again, that's the underneath. You wrap your thread around, and you go in there, make a sort of smallish stitch to where you want your next stripe to be. Then you go again around, and again you make another stitch like that, some space, and then again for the third one. And then, pretending this is the orange head, you would then exit where you want the eyeball to be. So at the eyeballs, do a few straight stitches on top of each other to make a raised looking eyeball, and then press the needle through to the other side and repeat for the next eyeball. Lastly, you're going to push your needle out where you want the first antenna to be. I would take a tiny little stitch to the bottom of the thread and then cut your thread about 1 centimeter long. Then you make another knot in your thread, and the thread you got left over, and you make your second antenna in the same way. Okay, now using your single felting needle, you felt the edges of the wings onto the body. Do this quite gently so you don't distort the body in any way. I just felted along the very edges of the wings to the body, just below the head. That way the wings still have a lot of movement. Now we need to felt the moth onto the fabric. So you tear away a small section of the adhesive backing to allow the felting needle to penetrate the fabric. Don't tear away the rest of the adhesive backing just yet. I'd keep it on there until you've done all the felting onto the fabric, because it can still distort the fabric quite substantially if you misfelt, so to speak. So just keep your adhesive backing on until you're completely done. You're going to concentrate mostly on the edges. Do some gentle stabs through the body as well, not hard enough to distort your actual body shape, but let the needle penetrate the fabric beneath to ensure the moth is well and truly affixed to the fabric. If you're not wanting to attach your moth to the fabric, you could of course glue a magnet to the bottom or attach a brooch back to it, or use it separately from fabric. You don't necessarily have to felt it onto fabric. And then lastly, we're just going to stiffen our antennae a bit. I use some clear drying glue. I use wood glue because I like my antennae to be quite nice and stiff, but any clear drying glue will work. And just put a tiny little bit on there. Use your fingertips and then just rub the glue over your antennae. And that will make them dry nice and stiff. Right, we'll just give that a few hours and then we will stick that in a frame. And that's that for today's little felted moth. I've put affiliate links in the description, so if you want to buy any of the things that I've been using today, you can have a look there. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week for another tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.